Hi again, everyone. Ken from Whittling Woods, back with the final episode of the Get Started Whittling Today series. There was 4 other videos that we did that'll basically take you from never having whittled before up to basic whittling. This last one is not something you maybe would do your first day whittling, but it'll be something to work towards. It's still a very simple project, just a little bit more time consuming. It's this little wizard character right over here. I call him the Windy Wizard Whittle, and you can see his hair is kind of being blown. His hair and beard are kind of being blown around him. It's a pretty simple, relatively easy carving to do. His hat's a little skewed because of the wind. There's really not all that much detail. A lot of little cuts and a little time consuming doing the beard, but it's kind of a fun project to do and gets you a little figure, because I know people do like the figure carving. So that's what we'll be working on this video. The wood that we're going to be using this time is basswood, and you can see here the width of the wood is 3/4 of an inch, and the full length of the figure is 2.5 inches. And again, keep in mind that these figures are just kind of get me started. You can certainly use different measurements and alter them to your liking. His hat is going to be about 7/8 of an inch. That's kind of the base for maybe the bottom of the hat. Again, it's going to be skewed, so it's not going to be exactly 7/8 all around. His nose comes down from that 7/8 mark, about 3/8 of an inch. And his his hair and robe, going to split over here from where it's being blown. That's 7/8 of an inch down from that from the first line. So there you go. And I just marked some guidelines. They'll probably, they're just something to keep in mind, not necessarily to follow exactly. You'll alter them a little bit, but that'll give you an idea of how the cape area is. I keep saying cape. The robe area is exposed, and so that's really about it. We'll let me get these things out of the way. I want to bring my knife in and make a quick announcement. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Here's the knife we're going to be using. It's from North Bay Forge. If you watched my prior videos, you know that I'm a big fan of the North Bay Forge knives. This is actually a modified version of a knife that had 2 edges on it. Actually, it originally had an edge over in this direction. I wound up grounding that down and getting away with it. It pretty much mimics their medium carving knife that they offer on their website, which I will have a link in the description. Another quick thing I want to note: I did contact North Bay Forge to purchase 2 of their medium carving knives. One I'm going to keep in my arsenal of knives, and the other one I'm going to make an announcement in a later video. We're going to do a subscriber giveaway. For people who subscribe and comment on my videos. I'd like to give back a little bit to the community who has supported me over the last few years. And I know it's a small YouTube channel, but I really do appreciate everyone who watches videos and likes and comments and all that kind of stuff. So when I get the new knives, I'll have a little video, and we'll show them, and we'll discuss how we're going to do a giveaway. Again, it's going to be a giveaway for existing or new subscribers, of course, and I should have that video up in a very short period of time. Be right back. Okay, we're back here. We're going to start carving. So this will be the front of the piece right here. This will be the nose, the bottom of the hat. So we're going to make a little cut in there to define the bottom of the hat, and just kind of cut up to that. That's it. Okay, and we're going to start taking the hat back a little bit. I'm going to move pretty quickly through this and probably speed up the video a little bit, because it's pretty basic stuff. We're just basically taking the hat back a little bit. When I get to any detailed parts in the carving, we'll slow it down and talk about it. Okay, we took the hat down a little bit, And first thing we're going to do is establish a little bit of the raised brim part of the hat. So that I'm going to go in just slightly above the line that we made here, and I'm going to go in and kind of cut down kind of to that and just angle upward. That's it. That'll kind of start that. And then for the other side, we're going to go slightly below the line and cut up to that. So there you go. If you can see how that is over there. And then I'm going to start connecting those lines just a little bit. And this is more to just define, give us a little guidance when we're doing the carving. It's going to change over time. It just happens to be the way I kind of like to do things. All right, and then for the back of the hat, we're going to basically go just slightly below the line again, and maybe a little further than we did on the side, but not too much. Kind of go in there and again just define that notch over there, and then start connecting the sides. And same thing over here. I'm going to start over there and kind of angle cut right down to it. So there you go. You can kind of see from the front. I'll trim this back a little bit. Now for the top of the hat, we're going to have it being blown over a little bit to the figure's left side. And that would be over here. So what I first want to do is on the side of the piece over there, is make just a little stop cut in here, and then I'm going to cut right up to it. And I'll have a picture of the finished carving over probably right about over here, so you'll be able to kind of see what we're aiming towards. And that's it on the side over there. You can see. Okay, and then just cut that back just a little bit on both sides. Flare it out a little bit. Again, this is going to be the pointy part of the hat that's being blown over. So there you go. Take that back a bit, and then start working your way around. And again, I'm going to speed up the video here a little bit. Okay, so you can see we kind of took the hat down a bit. Alrighty. I don't like to do a lot of the detail work on the hat too early on. The brim in some areas can be a little thin, and it might get, as you're carving other parts of it, it might get chipped and break. So this will kind of just give you a rough start. And so there you go. Next thing we can do is start working a little bit on the nose. I'm just going to kind of bring both sides of it in just a little bit over here. Create a bit of a bridge there on the nose. Let's see, here we go. And again, you be creative in terms of how you want to design a nose. Make it bigger, smaller, narrower, whatever you want. We're just going to go fairly basic here. Stop cut, and then cut up to it. This will be the bottom of the nose. You have a lot of ability to adjust and modify the nose to your liking. And I've done a number of videos on carving the nose, so you can check some of those out and see what we're talking about. So there you go. pretty straightforward. Bring this back just a little bit in here. And again, I'm trying to keep the carving fairly straightforward. So it's pretty much doable by anyone. Next thing what I like to do is kind of go in here and define the sides of the nose. So I'm going to stick the point of my knife up to the bottom of the brim, and I'm going to go in there. That's going to be the deepest spot, and then the base of the knife is going to wind up about where the base of the nose is, give or take a little bit. So there you go, you got a little cut in there. Now we can just come back in here. First, let's put a little stop cut up at the top. Come back in here and just take that chunk of wood right out. And there you go. Pretty straightforward. It's an easy way. There's different ways you can do the nose, but that's one kind of simple way, just to kind of round it out a bit more. There you go. We're going to probably make some slight modifications to that, and essentially we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to put the knife in here, again deep at the top, and then shallow at the base of the nose. Put a little cut in there. Put your stop cut up at the top, and then come back in. This you can use a paring cut if you choose, which means coming in here, you can see I'm holding, my thumb is down, secured below where the knife is going to go, and I'm just going to bring that cut right back in there and take it out. That's called a paring cut. So there you go, pretty straightforward to do. And you got the basics of a little nose in there. And you can flare up the edges just a bit. A little bit more, I think. That gives it some character. And then what I like to do is the nose right now kind of is sitting on top of the face. The way to set the nose back is to kind of deepen it by going in here. I like to put a stop cut. I go just beyond, you can see over here, just beyond the corner of the nose a little bit. And I put a stop cut in there, like so. And then I come back and I go up to, again, this is about where the nostril is going to be, in this area right over here. So I like to come in with my knife and then make another stop cut right in there. Kind of a crisscross type of thing. And then we'll just kind of cut up to that. And then there's going to be a little triangle piece in here you're going to want to take out. If you can see how that went. And you can kind of deepen it a little bit. And maybe around the bottom of the nose, just so. So, there you go. And it kind of allows the nose to give the illusion of setting back a little bit further in the face. And you can deepen these lines if you so choose, however you want to do it. You have a lot of freedom to adjust this. And so there we go. And we're essentially going to do the same thing on the other side. Put your knife in the wood just slightly beyond the nose. I'm going to try to make it so you can see that, just slightly beyond the corner of the nose and against the base of the nose. And then just make a little stop cut in there. And then go up just beyond it a little bit and put another stop cut in there. So if you can see, it's kind of like a T in that direction. And then come out and take that chip away. And then go in there and take that little tiny triangle piece. You have to make a little cut in there and lift that out like so. And then go back, clean up any of your cuts. And you've got the basics of a smile line in there. So that's pretty simple. Practice doing the noses. They're kind of obviously a fairly prominent feature on faces, so you can get kind of creative with them, making big, hooked, fat, narrow, thin, well, whatever you want. They're kind of fun to do, and you can play around with them. Alrighty, so we got some basics over there. Next thing, let's start where let's start separating where the hair and the beard are going to be blown off his robe, which is in this area over here. And again, you can kind of look at the little image of the character, the finished character, up on the left side of the screen over there. Okay, stop, cut up to it, something like that, and then take it in here. Kind of like that, and then again, on your corners or edges, you can do the same thing, and loosely define that separation. All right, and then just continue it right along there. And then maybe the base as well. All right, so this is kind of just early. Don't go in for a lot of detail at this point because we're going to be kind of making some changes to it and some slight modifications to it. So don't go overboard right now. And then we're going to work on the same thing on the other side over here. So I'm just kind of going to speed through this a little bit. Okay, as you can see, we've initially defined where his robe is going to be exposed on both sides. And to be honest with you, the rest of it, with just some small modifications, is going to be hair. He's a pretty hairy creature. He's got very long hair and a very long scraggly beard. So he's not going to have a whole lot of other detail on him. And just start rounding it out. Just basically don't take too much away at this point because I'm going to allow a little bit for the hair to flow around and give you some ability to create some depth. All right. The other thing I like to kind of initially put in is we're going to assume he's got like some very large mustache, flowing mustache. And normally you would go kind of like, you would create a mustache like this, and it would go down both sides if you can kind of see, and then maybe attach it up here or connect it up there, and you would have some kind of mustache. But in this case, since the wind is blowing this way, we're going to create this mustache. We're going to come around here like so and connect in somewhere over there. And then this piece is going to actually be kind of curved around. So we're going to put a cut over here initially and then a cut straight down and then connect that in there. Something like that, if you can kind of see what I'm going for. All right. So initially what I'm going to do is just put a little, this is going to be like a little chip cut. I'm going to take this out over here. Put two little cuts in there and then just kind of take out that chip. It just sort of defines that being defining. And you can just kind of go around and maybe establish the base of the mustache that would be on his left side. Okay, and then same thing, you can kind of take it from where the base of the smile line is and cut. Just cut a little notch along there. There you go. Pretty straightforward. Again, same thing with the other side of the mustache. Just go around and start removing some of the wood to define, to create a little depth in there. Gets a little tricky in this part over here to do it, but take your time and and come back and modify it to your liking. I kind of just like to get some defining lines into my carving initially. Kind of gives me some guidance. I don't go too deep at this point because these figures are, you're kind of just, well, in some ways, working on them as you go. So you can modify them and change them. And that's kind of it. And then for the top one over here, I'm going to continue again where the smile line is and just work my way around and cut out some little notches like so. The other way to do this is to actually come in here and define it and put a little line in here and just come around and then just go back the opposite direction and take that wood out. So there you go. You got some basic little mustache, flowing mustache in there. The other thing I like to do is define the hair on the edge of the face. In this case, on this side of his face, the hair is going to kind of come down like so. He's going to have kind of the indication of some type of bottom of his eye over here, whatever the case is. On this side, it's going to be very little. What I'm going to do is have the hair kind of flowing over that side of his face. So we're not going to worry about it too much over there. Maybe just a little notch. In fact, let's do that on this side. We'll deepen this over here. If you look at the part of your own face where the eye and the bridge of the nose come together, that's sort of the deepest spot on your face. So we're going to go in there and just define that a little bit deeper. Good thing to keep in mind with figure carving is sometimes you exaggerate the depth of cuts that you make more so than you would normally see on the human face. That helps bring out detail and adds a little bit of character to the carving. So when you're doing your own carvings, and again, I suggest that anybody who gets into this, rather than copying other people's work and patterns, is start working on your own. Hand sketch a few if you like doing it that way. And you can also do what I call whittle sketching, where you take a piece of wood and you just start carving, and you see what happens. It's like you would if you were just sketching with pencil and paper. And you can, if it doesn't work, doesn't work. It's scrap wood, and it's always a lesson learned. Okay. The other thing for the side of the face here, we're going to come down, just make a little cut right in there, just to define the side of his face and his hair. And then we're going to come back. I'm going to put a little notch at the top, and then we're going to come back and with a paring like cut, just sort of go in there and remove that piece of wood. And that's all. And maybe you do it better than I just did. So there you go. Don't worry about little tear outs and you always can go back and clean stuff up. What I like to do I guess it would be the cheek meets the jaw line. I like to take the wood out, this little notch out over here. So what I do is I put my knife, again it's like a little chip cut on both sides of it, and just notch that out. So you can kind of see, it deepens that side of the face a little bit. All right. And so that's that. Alrighty. What I'm going to do is just start the flowing part of the hair. Now keep in mind the figure, the hair is being blown towards his left side in this direction. So everything's going to kind of separate from here and flow around, and everything's kind of sort of going to meet on this side to some extent. Again, this is just, you do it whatever way you like to do it. It's really, there's no method to follow. You just kind of go with what you think is right. You can keep the hair very generalized, and or you can get a lot of put a lot of extra detail. Some people would maybe even pull out a set of small palm type gouges to work on the hair, and sometimes I've done that as well. But I kind of enjoy the one knife or two knife type carvings. In some cases, you only need really one knife, and if you have a good carving knife, like the knife I'm using right now, that's maybe all you need. And again, keep in mind, subscribers, I appreciate how you've supported my channel, and we're going to do a little knife giveaway in the upcoming weeks. As soon as the new knives arrive, I will figure out how we're going to give it away to some lucky Whittling Woods subscriber. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do now is start, like I mentioned, start defining some of the hair, flowing hair. So I'll cut a couple notches up in here, maybe, to start getting it underneath the hat to some extent. And just get experimental. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the carving. There's a lot of little carving, a lot of little notches you're going to take out. I'm going to speed through a bunch of this because it does get kind of repetitive and boring. Well, first let me just kind of get you started a little bit. So again, taking out little notch cuts to kind of start defining it. Keep in mind, we're not doing strands, individual strands of hair. Obviously, we're doing very bulk parts of the hair. We're getting the illusion. And we're just going to keep going around and doing that kind of fun stuff. This is where, again, where it's going to separate. So we're going to start taking this back a little bit here. So we're going to, separating it. We're going to, the hair is going to, on this side, it's going to be going this way. On the back side, it's going to be going in the other direction. So keep that in mind. If you do it this way, if you choose to have your wizard out on a nice calm day, then you don't have to worry about any of this. You can just make his hair go straight down. And I think I've done a few of those as well. Wizard carvings seem to be a bit ubiquitous, I believe. But they're fun to do. Okay. So what I like to do is get some basic notches in here that's going to start defining the flow of the hair. You can just go around and start taking those somewhat randomly, but keep in mind the flow of how you want the piece to come together. Alrighty, you can kind of see what I'm after here. I think what I'm going to do, otherwise this video would be quite long and probably fairly tedious to watch. I'm going to kind of zip through this and give you an opportunity to try it out yourself. I would suggest you take your time and just relax and enjoy the carving. It's what we're here for. Alrighty, let me just kind of speed things up a bit. Okay, a point I want to kind of bring up here is if on the side that where the hair is beginning to separate, you might want to make, just to make it look better, it helps if you kind of tuck one piece underneath the other. So if you see, I'm kind of going in here. I know it's difficult to probably see this, but imagine that the hair over here is slightly below the hair in the front over here. Or, you know, if you want to do it in the opposite direction, that's fine too. It'll give the idea that the hair it's separate strands of hair kind of flowing from the side of the head over there. I don't know how clear that is on the video, but again, if you see this piece over here on the top, it's sort of arched over. If I go in here and I kind of cut in and I begin to attempt to tuck one side underneath the other by making it slightly shallower, that kind of gives the illusion that I'm looking for. And so there you go. I'm going to keep doing this and I'll be right back again. Okay, another thing to keep in mind on the side where the hair is, the opposite side from where the hair is being blown, try to create a little bit more depth in terms of the way the hair protrudes from that side. So if you can kind of cut back a little bit and leave some pieces slightly more proud of the surface than others, it'll kind of, I mean, we're only dealing with 3/4 of an inch figure, so we don't have a lot of room to work with. But if you can sort of keep that in mind, that you might want to give the illusion that the hair is kind of sticking out a bit in certain spaces. It gets a little difficult because the wood does get a little fragile. You're dealing with a lot of practically end grain in that regard, so it does tend to be fragile and break a little bit. So you've got to be careful and take your time to do that. Okay, I think you got the general gist of what I was doing. This is just basically, you're probably going to wind up spending most of your time playing around with the hair, and you'll fuss around with that quite a bit, but that's okay. It's a good opportunity to practice whittling, and you don't really have to rush through this. You're doing it to have fun and make it enjoyable. So let's just have some fun and do it that way. For the mustache area, you can certainly keep those as one individual piece and maybe slightly clean it up a bit, or you can kind of define a little bit of character in there, maybe make a few strands in the mustache as well. It's up to you however you want to do it. If you want to do it that way, just create some loose strands, kind of like that. You see, it creates just a little bit more definition. You don't have to do a lot. Kind of like that. Really, the key is to practice getting the hair to pieces of hair tuck underneath other pieces like that over there, if you can see, to sort of tuck underneath, and other hair to be on top. And you know, when you get to the end, you can sort of also start to maybe pare it down just a little bit, make it a little sharper. Again, you don't want to do too much since it's kind of fragile. So like over here, you can see this section over here, it's kind of coming together. What I would do is maybe go in here, make a little cut, and sort of define those a little bit more so they look like they're kind of flowing together from opposite sides. And that's it. It's like I said, this is just a lot of playing around and adding as much or as little detail as you want. It's okay to have it not come out exactly perfect. There's a lot of room to play with this kind of stuff. And I believe this is actually a good little figure to kind of play around with. It's a figure carved, so in the end you'll have a little figure, and they're always fun, the little wizard guys, or you can even with you know, maybe you can even look at them as maybe a hillbilly character or something like that as well too. Maybe change the hat a little bit more, but maybe not even. So that's kind of that. What I'm gonna do next is kind of start to work on the finishing up his robe. I don't want the video to drag on too long. It's already fairly long, but I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about the robe idea. What I like to do is kind of give the illusion that the robe is being blown a little bit. The way I do that is to kind of come in here and start taking little swooping cuts in that diagonal fashion, kind of like so. It starts to just add a little bit of whittle and carving lines that flow in that direction, and the same thing on this side as well. Just slightly do it. And the way a robe would sort of naturally flow, and if it was being blown a little bit. Again, this is a tiny little figure, only 3/4 of an inch, so the amount of detail is going to be fairly limited. But use it as a challenge. See what you can do with it. The first one doesn't come out, do it again. So there you go. Got sort of the basic idea of what I'm talking about here. Just little tiny cuts like that. I like to bring that edge of the robe in a little bit as well, since it's again probably being blown underneath him a little bit. So there you go. Alrighty. Next thing, let's finish up the hat here. We're far enough along to start working on that. I'm going to make the brim on the side slightly angled upward a little bit. And the way I'm going to do that is to kind of come in here and start taking these little swooping cuts. You can kind of see how that's coming out. kind of use the same principle that I'm using on the robe. I take my knife and make these swooping cuts like that across there. It kind of almost gives the impression that the hat's being blown a little bit too. Come back here and then start raising the brim just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. And just work your way around. And then in here, you can, on the other side, same thing, just keep the swooping cuts going upward, like so. On the top, I just like to take it back a little bit. I'd like what I'm after is to get the top part of the hat slightly to the left of center, if that's possible, because it's obviously getting slightly blown in that direction. So I just kind of take that back a little bit. So if you can kind of see how that's coming out over there. And again, this is just a time-consuming kind of sort of a relaxing exercise. You're carving illusion of detail without really creating a whole, it looks more detailed than it actually is. Just kind of very straightforward to do. And pretty much most people can do this. One thing about whittling, it's a very easy hobby to get into. You pick up any time and literally do it anywhere. It's very portable. If you've watched, I've done a number of these videos using a pocket knife. You can stick the pocket knife in your pocket and head off somewhere. Bring a little piece of wood with you, or find a piece where you're at, and then just go at it. Try to be creative. In this day and age, stay off the cell phones, stay off the computers, get away from the TV. Use your hands, use your eyes. Participate in life a little bit. That's a good thing. Whittling is one of the hobbies that allows you to do that. There's plenty of other hobbies out there, but this is definitely one that allows you to do that. And don't be so concerned with the product. Enjoy the process. Okay, you kind of see here where we're at. It's pretty much done. What I would do at this point, and I won't do it on camera because it's just a lot of, as you can see now, it's just basically a lot of little fussy kind of cleanup work that you do. What I'm going to do is just call the video part of this good. I'll come back and I'll just clean up the image mix. Oh, you know what? One thing I do want to do is on the nose here a little bit. You can kind of create a little bit more detail by, again, if you're very careful, do a little swoop over here on the nose. if you can see how I did that. Right now the nose is pretty flat, just angled slightly. I like to kind of take the top, the bridge of the nose back in a little bit more, so you can see right away how it changed the profile. And I also like to kind of bring these up, the nostril, bottom of the nostril up just a little bit more. So there you go. You can see one side. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here. This, again, do it. Play around with noses the way you like them. They're, like I said, a dominant feature on the face, and they can add a lot of character to a wood carving or whittle. And you can always just play around with them until you get them the way you like them. You know, like I said, pointy, narrow, however you want to go about it. Fat, beaky. And if you're making a fat nose and you mess up somewhere, guess what? Make it a thin nose. That's all. So the only other slight detail that I'd like to do here is, again, this side, and I'm going to probably put a little bit more hair detail over here. This side, the hair is being blown, so it's kind of covering the side of the face. And you know, we'll play around with that just to kind of clean it up a bit, like so. Making it look like it's blown over here. Maybe cut a few more little strands of hair. And play around with it until you get it the way you like it. And but on the other side, what we're going to do is create just a little bit of the indication of an eye and some age lines. And it's simple. Just stick your knife up to where the nose and the side of the face and the hat all come together, and put a little line in there. Just put a little cut like that. You can see that? And then maybe cut slightly up to it and then slightly down to it. That's it. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. It's kind of gives a bit of an illusion that there's an eye in there, maybe the bottom of the eye. His hat's hiding most of his eye. And literally, that's really about it. You don't have to do all that much. You know, you can add a little bit more if you want, but you don't necessarily have to. That's good. All right, what I think I'm going to do now, enough talking, and I'm sure everybody's had enough of this long video. I will finish just cleaning it up a bit. I'll come back before I paint it and kind of show you what it looks like, and then I will paint it up and then show you that portion of it. But that's where we're at right now. We'll be back once it's all cleaned up a bit. Okay, we're back. Here's a quick look at the pre-painted version already and carved up. There you go. Just a simple little windy wizard Whittle. I'll paint it up and show you the final product. Okay, we're back. All painted up, and that's the final carving here. I hope you enjoyed that carving. I know it was a long one. I appreciate everyone who watched to the end. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.